In 1995, something really exciting happened in the nation's first national park, Yellowstone. 41 wild wolves were reintroduced here by scientists. After 100 years of being hunted, wolves could once again call this place home. The wolves thrived, but something else very surprising happened. Their return had a spectacular effect on the landscape, an effect that spread wider than anyone thought possible. So how did this all happen? In the past, wolves were seen as a risk to people and livestock, and they were exterminated from the Yellowstone area in the 1920s. The elk's main predator was gone, and their population more than doubled. Elk are both grazers and browsers, so they eat grass, shrubs, and trees. They overgraze the entire park, upsetting the natural balance of the ecosystem. Mammals like mice and rabbits could not use the plants to hide from predators, and their populations fell dramatically. Grizzly bears suffered as the elk munch away their berry supply, which they badly need to build up fat before hibernating. Pollinators like bees and hummingbirds had fewer flowers to feed on, and songbirds less trees to nest in. Perhaps the elk's most devastating impact was how they affected the park's riverbanks. When the wolf was around, elk were vulnerable when they moved down towards rivers to drink. They would never spend too long by the water, or they could be ambushed. But with the apex predators gone, they gorged themselves faster than the shrubs could grow, and gathered in great herds on the lush riverbanks. The mass of elk's hooves eroded the riverbanks, so the rivers and streams clouded with soil. The fish inherited murky homes, and without trees and clean water, beavers couldn't build their dams to live in. Without the protection of the dams, fish, amphibians, and otters suffered even more. And all because of the missing wolf.
Okay, so for the assessment, you are going to figure out how did the reintroduction of the wolves affect the Yellowstone River. For this assessment, you can either put it together as either a diagram with explanations, an essay, or a step-by-step list of what happened once the wolves returned. The more detail you include, the more points you will earn. Remember, this is the unit assessment, so this is your opportunity to demonstrate what you have learned over this entire unit. You must include the following. Number 1, what the conditions were like prior to the return of the wolves. So what exactly happened to Yellowstone when there were no wolves? So here I'm looking for a detailed summary of what the video just explained. Number 2, what was the initial change once the wolves returned? So in 1995, what do you think was the first thing that happened when the wolves returned? Number 3, what happened over time to the ecosystem after the wolves returned? So this is where you are talking about that domino effect. You should be looking at all of the plants and animals that were on the impact of wolves assignment and your food web that you created, and talk about over time what happened to this ecosystem. This would be a great place to put a step-by-step list of what you think happened. Number 4, how did the changes eventually impact the Yellowstone River? Okay, so you're pushing this all the way out to the river. And how did the return of the wolves ultimately change the river? I think I have a typo in this document too. Impact the river. Number 5, I want you to include some information about what you learned from the lesson on feedback loops that would apply to Yellowstone. So you should look back at your summary board for information on this. So I want a specific section on how the information that we learned about feedback loops applies to Yellowstone and this situation. And the same thing for number 6, I'm looking for information about what you learned from the lesson on St. Matthews Island reindeer that would also apply to Yellowstone. So again, refer to that summary board that should still be in your assignments tab. When you finish all of this, you are going to submit both the summary board as well as this assessment. You have the next 2 days to work on this. And if you have any questions, please send me a chat. I'm happy to help you in the afternoons between 1:05 and 2:30. And good luck.